What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. Bruce, we're back in the studio today.
I miss you guys.
after last week. And what do we got today, man? NBA playoffs, right? UFC,
Our Knicks, baby. Let's go. We're recording this on Friday. The Knicks are in the second round.
The Knicks are there.
We're going to go up against, I know that our pick didn't
Forget the pick, because the pick is, remember, we don't bet on the team, right?
Right.
So the pick is just the number and the value. So, like, you have to just accept when you lose.
Well, that's why we don't put my NBA picks on the card, because my NBA picks go Knicks, which I think if you just straight bet Knicks money line the entire series,
oh my God, you'd be rich.
You're up big, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
insane.
But we're going to take on the Pacers. We're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm just fast forwarding.
No, I think so. I like that series for the Knicks. I like that series better than I liked this one. Mm-hmm. So I think it could even be over quicker. But yeah, we had Phil. So last night, here, we'll do a quick, since you brought it up, a quick recap. We had the Pacers -8 last night. By the way, a good lesson learned in that game with Damian Lillard getting ruled in, and then the line goes from 8 to 5, right? And you're like, oh my God, my bet's dead and everything. Yep. It doesn't, like, I say this all the time, and a lot of newer sports bettors have trouble. This is one of the things they have trouble accepting when you start off, that, like, who's in, who's out, all that stuff. It doesn't really, I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all, but it's the situational spot, like spot betting overrides all of that by a lot. And the Pacers they just got blown out in Milwaukee. You come back home, the spot was for them. Yeah. So it didn't really matter who played. Giannis could have played. Lillard could have played. They were going to lose.
I don't know. Maybe a fully healthy Giannis may have changed things a little bit. But overall, I agree.
But yeah. So the Pacers -8 came through, and then we had Philly -3. So I thought both home teams would win. Philly made it. I mean, how do you go down 22 in the first quarter? Then you're up 10 in the third quarter. And I'm thinking to myself, here we go. All right, we're going to Game 7. And I was going to be on the Knicks in Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
But the Knicks have no quit in them.
I know.
Because imagine blowing a 20-point lead on the road. Now you're down double digits.
I can't imagine.
Most teams would pack it up and say, we're going to finish this at home.
I lived through it.
Yeah, that's right.
But, you hit me up and you're like, hey, man, when this thing goes to a Game 7, we should all, grab a beer and watch Game 7. And I was like, it's not going to
what Game 7 are you talking about?
What Game 7 is Knicks money line tonight, Jeff? And you're like, we put 76ers on the card. So, like,
I got Philly -3.
I was like, I don't know. Tyrese Maxey just doesn't have the head and shoulders for this round. He's a great player. I think maybe in 2 years, he's going to be that type of dude. Yeah, but you can see those big swings in performances between games. And I was just like, there's no way he stays this consistent and the entire time.
And I think, to be fair to him, he's not supposed to be the number one. It's supposed to be Embiid.
Yeah.
But he's clearly playing hurt, even though he had some pretty big games in the series. I mean, he had a big game.
I mean, he had, 39
I think he had 40
last
points.
night?
Yeah. So he had a big game, but it wasn't enough. And what I was expecting to happen actually happened with Buddy Hield. Because I'm like, someone's going to pop off at home in one of these games. It happens to be Buddy Hield, and it's just not enough.
Yeah.
And the Knicks.
Sorry, buddy. I was like, when this dude can't catch a break. This guy was like on the Kings for like a bunch of years, and then
yeah, I know. But
I remember when he got drafted, they were like, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I know. He's supposed to be really good.
Kobe Bryant.
He ended up being a good, decent player.
Right.
Decent player.
But I remember draft night. They were like, this could be
too much hype.
This could be Kobe.
This could be the second coming.
Scores from anywhere, buckets from three, hard worker, and
out to be a spot up shooter. That's it. Yeah. Sometimes that happens.
All right,
but so first round so far, we only have a couple of games left. Potentially, there's a potential Game 7 between the Magic and Cavs, but so far we're 26-17 in the first round, up about a little over 7 units. So
let's go.
Good first round, and we'll look to. And by the way, those systems that we use in the first round, they get stronger in the second round conference finals and finals. Like a lot of the times, like for example, the game, when a team drops game 1, you bet them again, you bet them at home to get the win in game 2.
Yeah.
That series, when you look at it for the entire playoffs, is like a 56 or 57%. It's solid, right? It's like that's something you want to play on.
Yeah.
But most of the losses for it come in the first round. So when you like filter it out and say, I'm going to remove the first round, it goes to like 64, 65%. So look for those as we move forward here, the systems that we've given you, like everybody watching for the NBA playoffs, look for those to get stronger. So like a 1 unit might become a 2 unit bet or a 3 unit bet because they're going to be stronger indicators in the second round and the conference finals because you have better teams left, more desperation,
more money
coming in. Yeah, exactly. So Should be fun. But we can start off talking about a couple of these series that are actually set here. The first one is the Timberwolves and the Nuggets.
Ooh, Timberwolves and the Nuggets. So
this one is on your radar.
Series price is Denver -205, Minnesota +170. The first line is 4.5 for game one.
Game 1, 4.5.
What are we thinking? We have Anthony Edwards. He's come out. He is a bona fide superstar,
So
number
good.
one option.
Yeah, he's so good.
All league option. I saw an edit that I thought was real. I was gonna send it to you. It's like Bradley Beal talking to a bunch of high schoolers, and he's like, "There's only 400 players. There's only 400 players.
That's right.
You think you're gonna take my job? You gotta guard me. You gotta guard me, and none of you motherfuckers can guard me."
Right.
And then you look into the crowd, and it's like Anthony Edwards
really?
is in the back. No, it was like some St. Mary's team somewhere, but they like edited Anthony Edwards in the back, like smirking.
He's like a kid. Yeah, he's like
and
15-year-old Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. So, and then we have the Nuggets, who are the Nuggets, the
champs.
best player in the entire world, maybe. Who do you got?
Yeah, I think it's, well, first of all, I'll start with this. I think it's going to be a really, really good series. This is like every game for this series is must watch.
Yep.
Whether you're betting it or not. And
who would have thought, by the way?
I know.
Us saying that about the Wolves.
I know.
Like, even maybe a season ago.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, last year, actually, these teams faced off last year, I believe. Let me double check. I think Minnesota was the 8. I think the 1-8 last year was Minnesota Denver, and I think they lost in 5, if I'm not mistaken. We can check that out real quick. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1-8 matchup last year, the Nuggets won in 5 games. So they won the first 3, then the Wolves got game 4 at home. The Nuggets closed it out in game 5. So, maybe I don't think there's too much of a revenge angle there. That was a much different Wolves team. They're much better this year. They're much more solid defensively, and obviously Anthony Edwards has taken that big step up, a big leap up. Because the issue that you have here with the Wolves, if you're looking at the series from just a pure data perspective, and you're going to say I'm a bit concerned, is that they have the 15th overall offense in the league, right?
Yeah.
That's been their Achilles heel, right? If they beat you, they got to hold you to like under 110. If you get to 107, 110, they're going to lose, right? Because they don't have enough offense. But that problem so far in the playoffs has been erased because of how good Edwards has been. But the question now is, can he keep it up? Phoenix is not exactly a defensive juggernaut.
No.
So, they're not terrible.
3 ballers.
Yeah, they're not terrible, but they don't have the length and athleticism and the defenders that Denver has. So his job for sure is going to be harder. Like no way around that. But I think you got value here because I'm looking at the series price, -205 to +170. I like the +170 for Minnesota. But here's the thing, I especially like them in game 1. And I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, the Nuggets at home. Maybe I'll eat my words."
Yeah.
But the Nuggets at home are, because of how good they were last year at home. Because before a team wins a championship, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people thought the Lakers were going to knock the Nuggets out last year. Remember?
Right. Yeah.
So the Nuggets go on, they win the championship. Now this year, because of their amazing home record last year, this year all their home lines are inflated. So what happens to them at home this year? 21-22 ATS, because all the lines are inflated. They weren't inflated last year, so they went like some crazy, like 29-12, whatever it was.
Right.
Now 21-22 because all the lines are. So this 4.5 to me, I think I could see it being 3. I'd be more comfortable if it was 3, maybe 2.5. So I would take the 4.5 with Minnesota in game 1. Look for the upset in game 1, and then look. And if that comes to fruition, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but if that happens, whip out the hammer for Denver in game 2.
Right.
That would be the ideal scenario for this series for me. Give me the dog to steal home court, and then the Nuggets do what they do in game 2. And we go back to Minnesota and regroup. I also think the under can be in play in this series because Denver's defensive rating is a lot better than it was last year. And you know how good the Wolves are, the number 1 defense by a lot.
By far.
Yeah. So I think the under is going to be in play in a lot of these games as well. But yeah, man, on the surface, I think there's value on the Wolves to move on. I don't know if you agree with me or not about that, but
I mean, it's really hard, man.
Yeah.
When you look at the Nuggets just as a team, the way that they can use what's his name on perimeter defense?
Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon on perimeter. Jokic is still the best player in the NBA.
He is.
I mean, nobody can guard him with his skill set, right? Like even if Minnesota is the best defense in the world right now, I don't know. I think Jokic just makes too many plays. I'm gonna stick with Denver in the series, but I do think that it's gonna be incredibly tight on this one.
This is a really good series, and you know what's unique about it too is both teams have like a for sure non-debatable guy that you give the ball to, and they go win you. Like if either team needs a shot, it's going to Anthony Edwards and it's going to Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
And those two guys are taking the shots, right? Like Jokic is going to dominate 46 minutes.
Of course.
And then Murray's going to close it out.
Yep.
And it's kind of the same thing on the other end. And then I just like this year specifically, so I love their defense, right? And I was always going to lean to the better defensive team a little bit to a certain extent. But I also like how balanced, like I know that there's going to be a game in this series where Jokic drops 40 and makes Gobert look like an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
But he's about to win Defensive Player of the Year. They have a really good balance. Like Jaden McDaniels is really good defensively. Anthony Edwards, by the way, that's also what makes him such a great leader. He is very good on defense.
Oh, yeah.
Really good.
I mean, he's just an athletic monster.
He's a hawk. Yeah. The chase down blocks and everything.
Yeah.
He's very good defensively. So, and I like, one of the things I was looking at this morning was, I mean, they just won a championship last year doing this same style. But one of the things I was looking at earlier this morning was like, okay, I'll ask you, who do you think leads the Nuggets in each category? Points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Do you like, who would you say for points?
Jokic.
Okay, for rebounds, probably.
Jokic.
What about assists, though?
I would have went Jokic.
Okay. And steals?
Not Jokic.
He leads them in all four, right? God. He leads them in all four categories. But then I go look at the Timberwolves, and it's like Anthony Edwards in points,
right?
But Rudy Gobert in rebounds,
right?
Mike Conley in assists.
You got guys that are
like
contributing across.
They got such a balanced attack, so I feel like it gives them a little bit of an edge versus teams that Denver has used to been playing.
Yeah.
So for me,
he's just so shifty, though. I mean, there's a reason why he leads it.
No, he's unbelievable.
It's one of those things where, like, can you scheme him out?
Yeah.
Of a game.
Yeah. No, you can't.
Right. No, it's like he's one of the guys that you just can't scheme out of a game. Certain guys, like I could even see, Anthony Edwards is great, but I think there's ways to scheme him out of the game. Right. A bit. There's just like no way. Like, if you try to scheme Jokic out of the game, he's going to end up with like 14 assists and like, 15 rebounds. He may not kill you on points, but he's going to get his somewhere and he's going to facilitate the team. So I don't know.
That's a good point you brought up, because we're going to find out in this series. Like Anthony Edwards, okay, you look great against the Suns. You played against your idol, KD, so maybe there was extra motivation there. Yep. Now we're going to really see what's up.
Right.
Because the superstars, all-star versus the superstars, do that against everybody.
Right.
And what you just said about Jokic, the superstars, you cannot scheme them out of the game.
No.
But we're going to find out now.
Right.
Because Denver is going to do some things to mess with him.
Right.
And what he does to adjust is going to decide whether or not he's for real or not.
Well coached. There's still great defense too, right? Great team defense. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, if he's still going off for 40 and this series is tight, I'm probably gonna eat my words here. But like, I'm also like I'm also kind of I'm a common casual Rudy Gobert hater. So I don't know, man.
He's not stopping Jokic.
No.
Great players like that, you don't never stop them. You just look to like contain, make them uncomfortable. So perfect example is the Knicks.
Right.
Embiid has a 50-point game and a 40-point game in this series, but he never looked dominant or comfortable.
Yeah.
Because they were doing so many other, so you're not going to stop him.
Unless the game where he hit like 9 threes.
Yeah, but, that's what I mean, the 50-point game.
Yeah. Looked pretty comfortable out there.
But even with him, like you look at his stat line last night, but as I'm watching the game, I never thought he was like dominating the game.
No.
You know what I mean?
I mean, he also has one leg, but no, totally.
Yeah, sure. But you get what I'm saying, right? Where you can do you're never going to stop a good player or a great player from getting their points. Mm-hmm. They're going to score on you. It's like, what other things can you do to disrupt them?
Yeah.
So Denver is going to do things. And I'm interested to see does Edwards, but I think he's up for it. I love his game. I think he's a really good. And part of the reason why I've been pushing Minnesota from the first quarter of the season on is because I was kind of seeing that he was taking a step forward, and I'm like, man, this kid has a really good game for today's NBA, especially. So
for
me, it's the Wolves.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
I think the X factor is probably pace in this. You know, do you know? I don't know the Timberwolves pacing stats, like possessions per.
Yeah, let's take a look
per game, and their pace is 90.
Let's see. Pace. They're going to be down at the bottom probably. They're 97, 98, 97, 98 around there. So they're down. They're in the bottom 10 in the league. Denver's going to be higher a bit, I believe. Let's see where Denver is. Is that me? Oh, it's me.
That's you.
Denver's down at 97. So they're not that far apart. They're both right there. So, but I think what you're trying to say is, which I would agree with, is that it's going to favor Denver if you push the pace. Yes. I agree with you on that. They got to make it a grindy, slow game, which, again, Denver could beat you anyway because in the half court, they're super efficient too.
Right.
But I think that's your best shot, though. Yeah. I don't think you want to run, especially in Denver.
Yes.
With the altitude. You don't want to run with them there.
Right.
Yeah. You want to do it at home, that's another thing. But I think you make it a defensive-minded game, the ball to your best player, have him decide most of the time. And I don't know. The rest is like hoping that some of your defensive schemes work, right? I mean, that's really the rest of it. Because
you want to dunk bet it?
Because no, I don't.
Come on, you love
feel
Anthony
strong
Edwards.
enough.
Come on,
all right, we're gonna dunk bet. All right, fine. You peer pressured me. You peer pressured me. Yeah, no, I'm going with Minnesota.
I'm gonna do an Anthony Edwards on you when we get it going.
All right, cool.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one.
All right, let's talk Knicks Pacers.
Woo, baby, my series. So series price: New York Knicks -225. The Pacers +190. Game 1 line is 6.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean
about how the Knicks are going to win this series.
Yeah, I don't have any doubts about this series. I think it's the Knicks. I think Indiana's lack of defense is going to catch up with them in this one, right? It didn't really hurt them against the Bucks because the Bucks are pretty bad defensively
and hobbled
and beat up. Yeah, banged up. Yep, exactly. But a lot of people don't realize that the Bucks, honestly, to be honest, I don't want to shit on them, but like after hiring Doc Rivers, the defense significantly dipped.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, if it's the schemes or whatever. Maybe it was just because it was Adrian Griffin's time was like early, the first half of the season. Maybe defense, they didn't step it up in the second half, whatever the case may be. But it dipped, and they were allowing teams to put up a lot of points on them. And finishing out the year with Doc Rivers as coach, they were just a 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very misleading 3 seed. So, like, you had them as a misleading 3, and you had Philly as a misleading 7. It's kind of a weird year.
Yeah.
But the Pacers were definitely lined up as the better team, and they went into the series favored. The Pacers as the 6.
Right.
So the books knew what the deal.
And you had them as well on the series as well.
Yeah. So the Pacers, they played well, but still they lost 2 games to them without Giannis. They dropped a game without Lillard, right? So that game 5, I mean, Milwaukee had nobody and blew them out. So the Pacers, I think, are not anything that I would be scared of on the Knicks. I think you just got by a much better team than the Pacers are in Philly. So the first game line is 6, right? This is going to be at Madison Square Garden -6. Listen, it's a hefty number, but I don't see how you don't lay it unless you think Indiana steals the first game. I do not think they steal the first game, especially after coming off of the blowout win to end the previous series. I think it's kind of like you take a little breath. They're a young team, first time in the playoffs, right? The Knicks got to the second round last year, lost to the Heat, who eventually won the Eastern Conference.
Right.
So, for me, the Knicks have been here before. They know what they need to do. I think they have the edge. I think they're the better team, and I think the metrics support that they're not just better, but also like substantially better. So this series to me could even be a 5-game series. I really do think that. I think this could be a series where the Knicks take both games at home, Indiana steals game 3, and then the Knicks close it out in 5. I could kind of see that being the theme here.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting matchup. I think earlier in the season, I remember you and I having debates on like Halliburton versus Brunson on like who is the better.
It's not even close now.
Point guard right now. I know, not even close. So Brunson has taken this massive step up in the back half of the series.
Yeah.
I think he's averaging close to 40 points a game. on the back half of the series. I think he had a 45-point game, a 47-point game.
41, 40, 47, and then 39.
Yeah. So he averaging over 40 points a game on the back half of that series.
Sanity.
Blistering. I mean, he's taking a lot of shots, but also we need him to.
No,
they need him to.
Doesn't matter.
You know?
Yeah. Insane.
Not a sponsor, New York Knicks. Just overall, I think you're right. I think not only do the Knicks have a better defense, but our offensive efficiency is better than the Pacers right now in the playoffs. Yep. So when you combine those two things, I see no reason why the Knicks don't take this home and go to the Eastern Conference Finals to play against a Celtics team that is hobbled. Hopefully, KP. Yeah. I don't hope anybody's injured. Actually, I take that back. But if he were to be hurt,
I'll tell you,
it would give us an advantage.
I'll give you my one thing in the back of my head, which I mentioned to you earlier off the air. But my one thing that I would say is that would concern me is Rick. So first of all, Rick Carlisle is a really good coach, right? I don't think the Sixers had a coach. Nick Nurse has a championship, but I don't think the Sixers. If Curry and Klay Thompson Clay and KD don't blow out their legs, the Warriors win that series, right? So I'm not taking it away from him. He won a championship, but I don't think he had a big coaching edge over Tibbs, or if any.
No.
But I do think you have a little one here with Carlisle. He's a really, really good coach. So, the Pacers are kind of like known, okay, they stink defensively, and they're still not as good as the Knicks are defensively. But they did get better when they got Siakam on defense.
Yes.
And in the playoffs, their defensive rating has been better. So I would, look for that a little bit on defense. And the one thing that I was thinking about as I'm watching the game last night, and last minute Brunson gets that and one bucket with where he comes around the pick and runs into him in the back.
He slows down.
Okay, yep. So that move, right, is now.
Don't give.
I'm a Knicks fan. I'm fine with it.
Do we have NBA referees watching this podcast? Do you guys know if you're an NBA referee or the league?
Just go away.
Turn it off now. All right, now give it to them.
That move for our audience watching, education. In the offseason, that rule was changed where if you come around a pick and the guard's chasing you around the pick, they don't go under, they go over, and they come and behind. And you stop, right, and force the contact from the back.
Yep.
That's the Harden move that he made famous.
Right.
And then shoot. And that's supposed to be an offensive foul now, but they haven't been calling it. And I'm fine with them not calling it because it is the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
If it would be fine if it's a no call, but they're giving Brunson the call. So if I'm just thinking if I'm Rick Carlisle and I'm a savvy head coach
complaining.
And I've won a championship.
And I'm pulling them over.
I'm going to say game one before the game starts and be like, guys, how are you doing? Oh, yeah, we're excited to be. Yeah, good to see you again. Hey, watch out for this.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing him do it all the time. And then you're going to put it in their head.
Right.
And great coaches do that.
He's going to send a video to the league with Harden and Brunson just superimposed on top of each other.
Yeah. What does a great head football coach do?
Oh, yeah.
Before the game.
Yeah.
Watch number or whatever he's holding.
Watch 71. He's been holding. Right? Yeah.
So I think Rick Carlisle's savvy. I think he'll do something like that. And I don't know if and that doesn't mean if you don't get that call that this, series is over. But that's one thing that maybe look for, right? Maybe they throw off his rhythm a little bit with that. They have some okay on-ball defenders, but they're just not great defensively. They are good at the rim, though, with Miles Turner protecting the rim.
Yeah.
But the Knicks are not going to beat you with their bigs. It's going to be Hart. It's going to be Brunson. It's going to be Anunoby, kind of like slashing, shooting the three.
Right.
DiVincenzo played great against Philly.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm not too worried about the Knicks. That's one thing, though, I would think about if I'm the Pacers. How do I stop this guy from dropping 40 a night on me?
Yep.
I gotta find anything I can.
And I think the Knicks, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just an eye test. I actually haven't been looking at the stats, but they were cleaning the offensive glass. They were cleaning the defensive glass.
On the offensive glass, yeah.
So one of the things, especially when they're on defense, is can the Pacers pull their bigs out and out rebound them? You got Miles Turner. I think he has to be in the mid to high 30s on 3-point percentage.
Mm-hmm. He can shoot a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So they do have bigs that can space the floor, right?
Toppin.
Yep. And just kind of pull you out a bit.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I'd look for. I think we were talking about, hey, how many minutes do the backup bigs get on the Knicks this game because of the floor spacing? So I think that's something else to watch out for is like, can they space the floor? And if they can, it's going to be an interesting series. But
yeah,
go Knicks, baby.
I think it's Knicks in 5 or 6. You're right though. They can do a little. There's some things they can definitely do on offense. They're a really good offensive team.
Yeah,
but I just think on the other side they're going to get killed. I think.
Yeah.
And Miles Turner is a good defensive rebounder, but he's like their only one.
Yeah.
So the Knicks, I think, could have the same success on the offensive glass. And I think the Knicks will have, unless they do some wonky stuff with their bigs, the Knicks shouldn't really have a problem keeping them off the offensive glass.
Right.
So I think the rebounding here is a clear edge to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, what do we say all the time about series in the NBA? Usually the team that wins is just the team that has the best player. There is no doubt right now
Brunson.
the Knicks have the best player in the series.
Yeah.
So, because like the early season criticism of him was like, oh, in any series he plays, he's not going to be the best. No longer true. So,
Yeah.
I like the Knicks in the series for sure.
Okay, so we got the Knicks. Game 1 line. Are you laying the 6?
Yeah, I'll probably be on the 6. What's the total actually? Let me check. Let me give you a lead on the over under, because I have the cool thing about handicapping, which a lot of people I think don't understand, that like you should have a line in your head before you look at the market.
Yes.
Right. You should have a line. Like I feel like a lot of people don't get that.
We do the same thing in the UFC.
Exactly.
Like when Justin and I are breaking down UFC fights, we don't look at the line.
Yeah.
We look at the fight and then we say, what would we price this at?
Bingo.
And then we look, and sometimes Justin will go like, holy shit. Like I
is
thought,
way off. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like minus 168 for our pick. And
Right.
and he's like plus 200. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The value gap here is insane.
Yeah.
We're going to go with him. So,
And they're huge in money lines.
yes.
But in point spreads, you're just looking for like a point or two.
Right.
So, but I think a lot of people probably don't get that it's very beneficial if you, whether it be like data, you arrive at that line from data, systems, whatever, but you should have like an estimate,
Right.
like what you think it should be, and then look at what the market is. Because if you look at the market first, it influences what you think the line should be. It's just
Exactly.
psychology, basic psychology.
And also you're looking for value when we're making these picks. Like we could have a lean on every single bet and give you guys 26 bets.
Exactly.
But like
Yeah.
we're trying to find the value and the arbitrage between what we think the probability is and what the probability is actually implied in the odds. So sometimes if we think a play is good, but there's no edge, like there's no difference in our implied probability, like we think it's a 50-50 and the market's saying 50-50. Well,
exactly.
There's no value there. So we probably skip.
Yeah.
So
And so looking at this total now, I'll just tell you that last night, as soon as the Knicks game, like basically almost to the end, I knocked out.
Yeah.
Woke up.
Of course.
Okay,
I
Knicks win. Tired. Then at like 3:30 a.m.
New dad.
Yeah.
New dad stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Then like 3:30 a.m. I'm up now. Suddenly I have like a burst of energy, and I'm like, what do I think about this game? And my total was like 211, 212, and the market has 216. So I like the under in game 1, and I like the Knicks in game 1. The thing about those totals, though, is that you look to the previous series. We're okay on time. Look to the previous series. Emotional road victory for the Knicks. Come back home. Pacers close out a series, their first one ever. Now hit the road. You got a beautiful recipe for an under in game 1.
Right.
And then you got the 63% system to play on, the
For game
over
2.
in game 2, because the number is going to dip a little bit. The 216 might be 213 for game 2. You hit the over. So it's just like little strategies. They don't always work out, but
Weekly podcast. So we may not have game 2, but
that's right.
Like
Game 1's Monday.
We're probably gonna miss game 2 if we record on Thursday.
It might be Wednesday though. Yeah. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you have your game 2.
Yeah.
You have your
one
game
under,
2 bet if
game
you
2
don't
over.
see us.
That's
next
right.
week.
Exactly. All right, dope. Let's move over to UFC 301.
Ooh.
We got another pay-per-view this week. There was a week off. It was off last week, right?
No, we crushed it.
Oh, we did have last. Oh, it was the week before that.
We hit a
plus
plus 330, Jeff.
That's right.
How
Last
could
week was
you
good.
not
that's
remember?
Right. Sorry, I forgot. Sorry.
All right, last week plus 330.
Yeah, that was sweet.
We hit another plus 150.
Oh, the Padilla bet. That's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
Padilla.
yes, I remember now.
So the Padilla. Now I don't want to take up too much time, but the Padilla bet is a perfect example of having a line in your head when you go to look at the line in the market. Because when Justin, my brother, who does a lot of the breakdowns for UFC, when he looked at this line, he said, okay, Padilla has to be the favorite. He's a better wrestler. He's just overall more skilled. Like James Lontop has power, but he's pretty sloppy. Like he's not very skilled, right? And almost lost a fight that in the Contender Series. So he goes, oh, Padilla has to be the favorite here.
Yeah.
And then he saw plus 330. He calls me. He's like,
this is crazy.
He's like, stop the presses, guys. Like, this is crazy. Chris Padilla should not be a dog, let alone plus 330.
That's nuts.
So obviously we put it on the card, right? It slaps. You know, he
got it.
You know,
that was a really good one.
Yeah, he gets the first round submission.
Both dogs hit too, because we had Hubbard as well.
Exactly. So we had Hubbard as well. So these things, you always have to make sure that you have the line in your head when you're breaking these down. And then that sort of determines whether you're a good capper and a bad capper. It's how you calibrate that.
Absolutely. And by the way, the last 3 2-unit UFC plays have hit too.
Slappers.
Because Jiri and what was the other one on 300? We had Jiri, Bobby Green.
Bobby Green.
And then we had the Span Guskov KO.
I know we talk units. I think I leveraged my entire life on Bobby Green in that UFC 300.
He dominated that fight though.
Yeah. Don't follow me, guys.
And that's another thing though about finding the edges that you're talking about. The bigger the edge, the more you might want to fire.
Right.
So when we that's basically what we do with our 2-unit plays. You don't want to get crazy. You don't want to be throwing 10 units on a game.
Right.
I know some guys
like
out there
me.
do, but you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But 1 to 3 is a good starting scale.
Yeah.
You can up to 5. I know Billy Walters goes up to 5, and he's pretty good.
Yeah.
So you can go up to 5.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we had Guskov last week. I on the pod we said KO is a sure bet. We also leaned Guskov on the money line and said that we think that Ryan Spann is gonna he's gonna try to knock him out when those hands are down.
Yeah.
And he landed a couple of clean shots, but he couldn't get it.
He couldn't get it.
Well, let's talk about
but
this.
It's been 2 good weeks. So what do you got for me this week to keep this going?
Okay.
We got to keep this going, baby.
We're in Brazil for UFC 301. The main event is Alexander Pantoja, the Cannibal, against Steve Erceg, Astro Boy, which you probably don't know. I'm not sure why he's getting a shot this early, but he's pretty good. And then you got other great fights like Jonathan Martinez and Jose Aldo. Michelle Pajea is going to beat up Ihor Potieria. But I'm not talking about any of those because we're scrolling all the way down. We're scrolling all the way down because I'm here to deliver value, not headlines. So the first fight that we're going to talk about is Jack Shore versus Joe Anderson Brito. And I'm going to pull up the line here. Do you have the line, Jeff?
Yeah, Jack Shore's plus 150. Looking at this on DraftKings right now. Plus 150 for Shore. Brito's minus 180. The total set at 1.5 rounds. And that over is juiced to minus 200 on the 1.5.
Ooh.
So yeah, plus 150, minus 180 are the splits towards Brito right now.
Okay, so we have Jack Shore, wrestler, 135er. So a ton of success at 135. Lost, only dropped 1 fight by knockout, and then moved up to 145. At 145, he fought Makwan Murakami. He was he was one of the most out of shape 145 pounders that I've seen. He looked very blown up. He didn't look like a natural 145er. Not sure why he's making this jump, but he's not very big for the division. If you go over on the other side, Joe Anderson Brito is just a muscle shark. Like he's a huge 145er when it comes to strength. And he's fought a ton of big wrestlers in 145. He fought Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan Pierce fought last week. We bet on him. We lost, but he wrestled David Onama just all over the place for 2.5 rounds, right? So he's fought guys with incredible grappling ability, and he's been able to not only stop those takedowns, but also just like beat the piss out of them. Like he's super strong, great leg kicks, ton of power, good submission ability. Like I don't see a world where Jack Shore comes in and wrestles Joe Anderson Brito.
Yeah.
And Jack Shore, also not a great striker. So if this stays on the feet, it's going to be scary times for Jack Shore. I'm talking like legit scary times. So I probably wouldn't go the 1.5 on this, but I would definitely Brito money line is where we're at on this one.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at some fun props, like we could look at the KO here on Brito. I would have to take a look at what that is because I think those props just dropped.
Okay.
I don't know if you have it over there.
Let's see. Yeah, let me take a look. Yeah, that weight difference you're talking about is just massive. I mean, even what they're listed, 155 to 167. I mean, that's a lot to have on a guy.
Yeah.
You said Brito by KO is plus 240. By sub is plus 350. And then Shore by KO is 1,000. Shore by sub 450.
Yeah, so I think Brito money line looks good. I think you can probably sprinkle a KO because if he can keep it on the feet,
yeah,
Jack Shore is not going to stand with him.
Yeah.
So it's gonna start looking scary. Like Jack Shore is gonna look like a fish out of water on this one if they can keep it standing. Where Jack Shore wins is control time and wrestling. So if you really like Jack Shore, you can go for like a Jack Shore decision.
I don't plus 350.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get subbed, Brito. So if Jack Shore can control the pace of the fight, control the control time, that's going to be the way that he wins. But I think what you're going to see is Jack Shore going for a couple takedowns, getting stuffed, starting to look worried.
Yeah.
And Brito starts unleashing on him. So we're going to go Brito on this one at minus 180.
I like that. Minus 180 on the money. That's a good price. Do you ever think about, just came to my head, like, so we're betting a Brazilian fighter in Brazil, right? And I know there's like, so you could probably find stats out there about like how fighters do in their home. But do you guys like take that into account much?
No,
with the hand?
We probably
like how much
more.
do you weigh it? Yeah,
I basically don't weigh it at all.
Really, not at all.
Not at all. And like we got dusted once in Canada, where like we faded almost every Canadian fighter on our picks, and like all the Canadians won, and we just got like just dusted.
A little extra oomph,
right? Yeah. But then you go back the second Canada card. You know, the lines for the Canadians were juiced, and we faded them again.
There you go.
And we dusted them. We dusted them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's really hard. You really have to look at the matchups. There may be small edges that you can find, especially if there's like a long, a long flight, or maybe people are getting in late, or there's an altitude difference potentially. But in generally, no.
Gotcha.
I also think that the Brazilian fan base in the last Brazil card was pretty bad. Like,
was it?
Yeah, like they when
wasn't there.
No, like they left. It was when Yuri beat what's his name, Alex Pereira's trainer, former light heavyweight champion. I have so many people in my head that I just don't. Glover Teixeira.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Glover was retiring, and they were like leaving the stadium while he was giving his like his retirement speech. Like it's
that's not good.
Yeah,
all right, gotcha. So it kind of depends. It's not a huge at home whatever you want to call it advantage. Yeah,
I don't think so. But now that Jose Aldo's fighting, the King of Rio, that place may go nuts.
And he's a dog too.
Yeah,
dog and fight.
So
cool. All right, so we started off with Brito on the money line. I like that. So talk to me about. I know you got to pick on this Brenner. Oralby fight.
Yes, we're getting revenge.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have been sticking around.
Mick
Tebek killed us once, but he's not going to kill us this time.
So Mick Tebek right now though is minus 260 on the money line.
Yeah,
and we got Elvis Brenner plus 210.
Yeah,
this total set at 2.5 rounds, and the overs at minus 160. So a little bit of juice to the over. Yeah, I mean, I think you're leading. Yeah, I think you're leading to the dog. This is a nice plus 210 right here.
Yeah, I think Elvis Brenner is the pick here, and let me illustrate why. I want you to tell me, how many. Well, just read off the records.
Let me take a look here.
Outside of the Uros Medic fight, so Uros Medic fought Mektebek Oralby.
Right.
Oralby, good power in his hands, pretty great wrestler. Came in late notice against Uros Medic. Uros said to himself, he trained kickboxing the entire fight camp. Got the late replacement of Oralby, wasn't training wrestling, got wrestled, got submitted. We lost that fight.
Yeah.
Now we got full camp Elvis Brenner against Oralby.
Okay.
Before Uros Medic.
Before Uros, he fought Haywood Charles.
Okay, what's his record?
Okay, 18-14.
Okay, not great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then I didn't even say his name. Eliziaro at 10-7.
Okay, not great.
Then there was a cancellation.
Not in the UFC, by the way.
Right,
UFC.
Right. Yeah. Then there was a cancellation.
So these guys are fighting in other leagues and have about a 500 record.
Yeah.
Yep. And then who's
Sabirov is 0-1.
0-1.
Yeah,
okay.
0-1.
So that was his first professional fight ever was against a roll by.
Yeah, 5-3. Yeah, these are all basically 500 or below fighters.
Right.
Yeah.
He's fighting cans.
Yeah.
In these other leagues.
Or these guys don't have any experience, like 2-0.
Right.
1-0. Yeah.
These guys, definition of cans. Yeah. He's crushing cans. He's crushing people that either have no fighting experience or just 500 guys.
A lot of these guys don't have any fights at all.
It's like Elvis Brenner has fought real dudes in the UFC. He's in the shoot-a-box camp, so he fights, if you need a comparison, he fights a little bit like Charles Oliveira. So teep kicks, a lot of straights, good grappling, good submissions, right? He doesn't excel really in any one of those areas. I would probably give him the edge on submissions.
Yeah.
But I think he just has a toolbox of things that are not only going to keep him in the fight, but also have him excel in this fight. So I think he could defend the takedowns. If it goes to the floor, he's comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. He can get himself back up. He can threat submissions. And he also has pretty decent striking, right? And I think he'll be able to defend himself well. He's fought really good guys. Like Garam, what's his name? Garam Kudaladze, he fought, who beat guys like who's the Polish guy?
I don't know.
All these names.
Too many names.
Garam 12-4 has beat guys like Mateusz Gamrot, Felipe Silva, like real dudes in the UFC. Like Gamrot was, threatening for a title.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? So I think when we look at this, Elvis Brenner has all the tools to win. And at plus 205, I think there's a big value there. I think people are overrating a roll by.
And the records too, by the way, of his win, of the people that Brenner has fought.
Like
15-3, 14-3, 13-3, 12-3, 11-3, 10-1. Like
killers.
None of these 0-1 guys.
No, killers. He's been fighting real guys.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got a stronger track record for sure.
Yeah, stronger strength of schedule. I think he's more well-rounded. I think this is a total. I don't know why this is such a big price difference here. Yeah. But I want to take advantage of it. Just like last week when we said, the KO for the Guskov fight.
Minus 170, and you're like, this is insane at minus 170.
Inside the distance was minus 1100, and we were like, crazy. So I think there's a ton of value here. I would go Brenner. I would take the two Brazilians, Brenner, Brito, Brazil, Triple B this weekend. We'll have some more on the card. But I'm excited about these two.
I like that. And I think that like what you're talking about the finding these types of value plays where the lines like seems to be way off. It might sound weird to people, but you find these in basically anything that's not the four major sports.
Yeah.
You'll find these lines like this. You won't really find these in baseball. Baseball is like UFC is very popular, but baseball is still much more heavily bet. Like a regular season baseball game on a Tuesday, we'll see a lot more action.
I agree.
So these lines, you can find these mistakes. Whereas a baseball mistake, when I send them out every day, I send out the baseball bet and then the projection, what I have the line at. Mm-hmm. We're playing lines that are 15 to 20 cents off.
Right.
It's minus 110. It should be minus 130.
Yeah.
But you find a dollar's worth of value here. It's not 10 cents.
It's crazy. Yeah. And it's we love diving into the prelims and the early prelims because that's where you get the most action, the least amount of money coming in.
Yeah.
So the variability on those lines are super high.
Exactly.
So I love that. That's why we're never really talking about the main events on here.
True.
I'm always giving you guys,
that's what everyone's betting.
Yeah.
So the value is sucked out.
I'm like, it's going to be Garam Kudaladze versus Yusuf Zalal. And you're like, what?
Like the main card starts at 10 p.m. is like, we're betting, our bets, first bet's at 6:40 though.
Right, exactly. Like I love those. We try to stay away from the mains, but
all right, cool. So we got Brito this week to keep the hot streak going, and Brenner as a big dog plus 210.
Yes, sir.
For UFC 301. All right, cool. So we covered. We forgot to talk the NHL. No, just kidding. The NHL playoffs. Listen, the NHL playoffs I know are good. I'm going to bet them a little bit more, but I've been getting killed, dude. I played all the NHL systems that I know and love, tried and true every year.
Yeah.
They all fell flat. I'm like, what the hell is going on in the NHL? The home team's down 0-1.
Yeah.
Nope, all donuts. Like the game 5, trying to force a game 6, all got like, dude, give me a break with these teams.
Yeah.
And some of them, like for the other night, you just need one to hit. Like we had Vegas and we had LA. They're both big dogs. just give me one. They both lose by 1 goal each. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So hockey, we'll get back on the this is just a red season for hockey. And it's actually my first.
Usually
first 3 years, hockey's been green. This is the first red season for hockey.
Yeah.
And so this year we had green college basketball, green college football, green NFL. Right now, baseball's up about 5 units. NHL's the one red.
All good.
It's every year but I'm trying to say every year there's always one.
Yeah.
You don't know which one's going to be.
Right.
Which is why some people are like, oh, just forget hockey. But I'm like, no, you have to bet them all because you don't know which one it's going to be.
Right.
You just have to bet them all and everything comes out,
in
it
the
works
wash.
out for you. Exactly. So, all right, good stuff. All right, cool. So series picks for me, the Wolves and the Knicks. Bruce likes the Nuggets and the Knicks. Maybe next show we'll talk a little bit about whoever the Celtics are going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler, I think it's going to be the Magic. And then the Thunder, who I think are going to play the Mavericks, but we'll see what happens.
Cool.
Whether or not we have Game 7. All right.
All right. Good luck this weekend, y'all.
Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck this weekend. Catch you next week.